Good afternoon and welcome. Let's take a look at our top story. With an aim to revive the virus hit Europe's largest economy, German coalition parties have agreed on another $146 billion economic stimulus package. Chancellor Angela Merkel's ruling coalition has agreed a bumper stimulus package to speed up Germany's recovery at a time when the industry orders have plummeted 25.8% in April, suffering their biggest drop since records began in 1991. Coronavirus has slashed domestic and foreign demand for goods from Europe's biggest economy. And Germany's domestic orders have dropped 22.3%, while orders from abroad were down by 28.1% in April. The stimulus program follows a $800 billion rescue package agreed in March. In the package, value-added tax, or the VAT, will be reduced from 19% to 16% for 6 months, starting from the 1st of July, and a lower VAT rate for hospitality sector of 7%. The overall cost of the VAT measures to around $21 billion. The package also includes at least $11 billion a year to help municipalities struggling with lower tax receipts, with public spending on infrastructure and housing. The measures also include a one-time $341 billion stipend per child to help families, as well as the doubling of incentives to promote the sale of electronic cars. Now, Germany's measures, which together with liquidity and loan guarantees equals more than 30% of its economic output. Experts say Germany, where the economic packages go substantially beyond any other national emergency programs launched by other Eurozone countries, has weathered the crisis better than many of its European neighbours. Now we are being joined by our DW correspondent, Chipanda Chimbelu, live from Berlin. Good afternoon. Thanks for being with us. Germany has unveiled its biggest stimulus package on record. It's a €130 billion plan, and it aims to have the economy out of a coronavirus-induced recession. Can you break down the stimulus package for us?
Yes, Alison, like you mentioned there before, the package, of course, has this amount of money earmarked for families as well for 6 months, and that will be €300 per child. So, you know, anyone who has a kid will get €300 extra because there is money for people with children already. And that's the first part of it. And that will help, of course, put more money into German consumers' pockets. And, of course, in addition to that, there's the sales tax reduction, which, of course, is going to be 16% instead of the 19% that we have right now. And that also will add to consumers' spending power, hopefully, at least that's what the government hopes. And, of course, then the money for municipalities, which you've already mentioned, and a €50 billion amount, which has also been earmarked just for innovation and spending on digitization and also climate change solutions. So there's quite a bit in there.
Right. And what has the response been in Germany?
Well, of course, the response here in Germany, you know, has mostly been welcoming to this stimulus package, as you can imagine, because Germany is known for, you know, being very tight with its money. And so it loosening the purse strings is something very welcome. There has been some criticism, though, from the country's largest private sector employer, to which around 800,000 jobs are linked, and that's the auto industry. And they're not too happy because, of course, the financial incentives are going to people who are buying electric vehicles and not to people who buy petrol or diesel fueled vehicles. So for them, that will be a problem because they won't get as much as they would have liked to from this stimulus package.
Right, and Chipanda, could you take us through what the situation is like in the rest of Europe?
Well, the situation, of course, in the rest of Europe isn't better. Germany's economy is one of the strongest, obviously. And in the rest of Europe, we're talking about, you know, a contraction in the first quarter of 3.8%. And we had yesterday the ECB president, Christine Lagarde, talk about expanding the bond buying program by €600 billion. And it had, of course, planned €750 billion initially. So that has taken that to €1.35 billion now. And that actually was beyond what experts had been expecting. They had been expecting an increase of 500 billion euros. So the ECB is being very aggressive in trying to stabilize the Eurozone economy. And at the same time, Christine Lagarde still warned that it's bumpy times ahead for the Eurozone economy. You mentioned, of course, like German manufacturing figures are obviously reflective of what's going on across the Eurozone. So it looks like it's going to be a couple of bleak months ahead for the Eurozone. Alison.
Right, and we have touched on a few points in the plan. Can we quickly focus on the German auto sector and how that will be impacted?
Well, obviously, the auto sector has mentioned that there isn't enough money. The auto sector is really struggling at this point. Not enough people are buying vehicles, as you can imagine. In fact, people were buying more bikes than vehicles. So car sales or new car registrations in Germany and in Europe are really at historical lows right now. It might change going forward, but obviously people's wallets are affected by the fact that they've been badly hit by the coronavirus, fallout, and that means that people will probably be spending less on new vehicles. So I think the outlook for the auto industry isn't much better, and we will see what happens. Maybe the German government will still try to come up with a plan that can help that industry specifically. But obviously there's money already earmarked to help people who are on unemployment or could be on unemployment stay employed. And so the government is already spending money on that. So we have to see how things pan out.